Evening. Welcome to a midweek edition of the Buddy Martin Show. I'm Buddy Martin. Program tonight. We focus on mostly Gator football, SEC, and a little bit of swimming. When's the last time we talked more about swimming than we did about football? But tonight, we got to entertain the conversation with the great Katie Ledecky. If you're watching any of the Olympics, so you are, some you're not. But tonight, we'll focus on opening day in Gainesville. Yeah, it started. It's there, ready to go, and football is underway. We're happy about that. So tonight on the program, we hope if everything works right, we'll be soon talking to Nick Torre, our friend Tony Barnhart up in Atlanta. We're going to catch up with him as well. And also we've got Dan Bond out in Dallas, who wrote something this week about the helmet communication. So want to hear your opinion. Do you feel it in the air? Are you feeling Gator football yet? Well, it's time. It's time to go. The Buddy Martin Show is on the air.
Buddy Martin, call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
I'm incapable of small talk. But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
Buddy Martin. This is called the Buddy Martin Show. Looking forward to tonight's show. Man about the Gainesville, who's been doing a lot of stuff lately, always busy, baseball, football. Now he's out there amongst them on opening day. Nick Torre will join us momentarily. I keep forgetting to ask him if he ever had a relative who played football in Florida. It was an all-conference center named Steve Torre. I don't know. We'll find out. Also tonight, the great Tony Barnhart joins us from up in Atlanta, talking about the other SEC schools kicking it into gear. And we're going to pick up on some things that were storylines during the week, like the helmet communication. We've got Dan Bond out in Dallas standing by for that. Right now, it's time to go to the Orange and Blue Room and connect with one of the most informed reporters. He would be what I call a peripatetic, which is to say he gets around a lot of places. He's a busy dude. If you're lucky enough to catch him on Gators Online, that's always good. If it's baseball season, he'll probably be gone for 3 or 4 months. But back, and I want to get right. First of all, good evening to you, Nick. Thanks for joining the program.
Yeah. We're just setting up baby furniture. Due date in a little over a month.
So, oh my man. That's what. Is this first child?
First child, yeah.
Oh, my word. What a special occasion, man. Congratulations. Fantastic. You. Yeah. There's nothing better. And I just say one thing, and I know everybody will give you advice. It's impossible to know how much you can love that little child. You just don't even know. You think, oh, my gosh, that's my flesh and blood, man. And it is an amazing ride, and there's only one problem. There is no manual on how to raise them.
Yeah, it's a little girl. So I told my wife, I said, listen, if it was a boy, I'd be able to do the discipline. I'd be able to say no. I said, but it's a girl, so
no,
she's good cop, bad cop.
She got her right around your finger. If you can forget about that, daddy's girl, you got no shot here. So that's wonderful. Do you have a name picked out yet?
We do. We're naming her Frankie after my dad. My dad's name is Frank. So we gotta come up with a very feminine middle name in case she doesn't like Frankie.
Yeah, Frankie. Yeah.
But well, we like it. It means a lot to us. So hopefully she'll like it eventually.
Family names are special. You never know, when you're going to get one. I found out, unfortunately, many years later, too late, that my middle name goes back almost 200 years. And my family, and I would have given it to Brendan in the middle had I known that. I missed the opportunity. But my grandson has it, so it's Francis.
There you go.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's congratulations to you and your wife. We're looking forward to the big day, man. That's huge. That's huge. Really good. Well, today was a pretty big day for a few people. It doesn't seem to be quite lighting the fire like I remember other seasons when it was crazy on opening day, but there is a certain level of interest. I don't know if it's more business-like, and that's what you say. So I thought the press conferences were interesting yesterday. I really enjoyed them. I learned a lot listening to this press conference and going back over the manuscripts, what have you. And I thought Billy's attitude, and I noticed some of it in yours. Your comment, I asked you about your comment. I thought it was really interesting. I've covered 4 coaches at Florida. Billy Napier doesn't look like a man who's afraid of losing his job or something to that effect, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, to coach at this level, you have to have an ego. You can be the nicest guy. You can donate 90% of your salary to charity. To coach at this level, you are at some level a narcissist or you have an ego. You don't get to this level of success without having some of that in your personality. When I got to Florida, buddy, in 2013, Bill Muschamp had been beating his chest all summer because they were, in his words, a game away from the national championship. If USC beats Notre Dame, it's Florida getting their butt whooped by Alabama in the national championship game and not Notre Dame. And then I get there and it's 4-8. And I wrote, trying to be a columnist at 24 years old, having covered 11 games ever, wrote that, hey, he should be fired.
You're an expert.
Wrote that he should be fired. And going into that next year, you get at the time, Jeremy Foley, we're 1,000% confident in Will. And whenever an AD is going out in the public and saying we're 1,000% confident in something, you can cut out 2 or 3 of the zeros in that. And that's the actual percentage of confidence they have. So to me, I've seen what Will, from when I got there, beating his chest, we're so good, to what it looked like by the time they got, even before that Georgia game, because we all went into the Georgia game in 2014 thinking Georgia's going to beat Florida and he's going to get fired after this game. They beat Georgia, and then they go and they lose to, I think it was Missouri the next week, and he gets fired. Jim McElwain was a little bit different. I think he kind of self-imploded. He didn't understand what the expectations were at Florida. They put up SEC East championship banners or signage on the stadium, and people were like, what? So his situation was a little different. But then Dan Mullen, I don't think anyone listening to this show will tell you that I'm wrong if I say Dan Mullen has an ego. And I saw what Dan Mullen looked like when the walls start closing in and you realize, like, hey, we're not getting it done. I'm not going to have a job. I don't get that from Billy. Billy has this quiet confidence in his team. And he's almost, at times, talking to him on and off the record, it almost seems like he's enjoying all of the people saying they're not going to be good. He enjoyed being picked 12th out of 16 in the SC media days. He probably enjoyed seeing Las Vegas put them at 4.5 wins. This is his best roster. He has said that multiple times. I believe it. And I'm a straight shooter. I would tell you if I thought he was selling you a bill of rights there, but I think it's their best roster. Does that mean you're going to win more games? I don't know. It might not with this schedule. The SEC schedule every year is hard, and I don't think it's just because of a game each week. I think it's the cumulative effect. When you're having to play at Tennessee, Kentucky, Georgia, at Texas, that stuff builds on itself. If you're in the Big Ten, you get Rutgers every once in a while, and that's fun. So I think Billy's comments and his demeanor, to me, don't look like the coaches I've seen that have heard the fat lady singing on their drive into work. And to me, I don't think Billy thinks this year will be his last year. And listen, if the Gators go 2-10, you're going to make a coaching change. If the Gators go 4-8, you're going to make a coaching change. But I don't think there's a number that he has to get to
Mhm.
Because in my opinion, if you go, let's call it 7-5, buddy, I think I would be
Okay.
fine with a
That's great.
7-5 season.
Yeah.
But let's say those 5 losses are a blowout loss in Jacksonville, a
Mhm.
blowout loss at Texas, a blowout loss at Tennessee. You lose to Florida State, you lose to LSU or Kentucky again,
Or Ole Miss.
or 6-6.
Mhm.
But those 6 losses are competing with Georgia and Jacksonville, looking competent and competing on the road at Texas, sneaking out a win against Tennessee, but maybe losing to a Miami and a Florida State. To me, the wins and losses, the numbers themselves don't matter nearly as much as what do those numbers look like each
Right.
Saturday. And you have to show improvement each Saturday. You can't go out and look the way you did, and I think, and still be employed. But I think this is the best roster Billy Napier's put together and the best roster they've had.
I can't say I disagree with anything you said, actually. And it even I want to get your take on the mood and the persona, the composure, the body language. But I want to go back to something that you brought up, and I didn't mean to go into it this early, but you brought it up. I have done kind of a introspection with my life as a Gator fan. As you know, it's 150 years, and it's getting to point A and point B. You measure. If I said to you, Nick, where are the Gators now versus where they were when you started the beat? And you probably tell me they're below because you came in at a time when the beat was decent, although they never achieved what we thought. So here's how I saw it in the capsule. First of all, I recommend people just embrace the season, embrace the schedule, look at the opportunity, enjoy the games. You're getting a good value for your tickets, and try to get past this year. But having said that, also know you have to relate to it based on your knowledge and your background. Were you a boomer? Were you a Gen Xer? Or whatever when you came in it? Because when people came in 1990, what were they? They were Gen Xers in 1990. I don't even know. It's like, okay, well, we expect to win, right? From now on, we expect to win. Well, when I came into it, as a silent generation, it was like break even, baby, get to a bowl game. That's a successful season. So everything's based on that. So now, having said that, I'll take you from the old days of my days in school. Bob Woodruff, who basically was, can you get to 5-5 and get to a bowl game, whatever? To Ray Graves, who got them to 9-2 to a bowl, brought us Spurrier, got us there, gave us Carlos Alvarez, etc., and then handed off to Doug Dickey, which was 10 years of gloom and doom. We never got it back to anything going on until this cheating scandal of the mid 80s, and then of course Spurrier saved the day. And he saved the day in many ways. The program was going in the toilet had he not stepped up there. And then, of course, he did the unthinkable. He won not only an SEC, he won a national championship. Well, that's pretty good. That got things going the right direction. And we thought, okay, well, let's hand it off. Let's go to the M's era. To Muschamp, McElwain, and Mullen. But first, let's stop with Ron Zook, who was not a bad coach. And let's bring in Urban Meyer. You get 2 national championship coaches, 2. Those are the standard. Now, however, we're back to a guy who's a very good coach. I agree with what you said. Very, very smart. He got a great system. He knows what he wants to do. But where we are on the scale is we're right back to Bob Woodruff. That get us to 6-6 in the bowl game, right? So how do we measure progress, Nick?
11 different jersey numbers on the field at the same time, 11 players on the field for special teams. It's interesting. So I think Florida fans, and listen, I grew up a Florida fan. I graduated high school in 2007. So like at the time where I'm really maturing into my sports fandom, Florida was the talk of the nation, the talk of the world between basketball and football. I think Florida fans are spoiled. You mentioned it, like Florida. I've seen people call Florida a blue blood in football, and I'm like, not really. It started really like you said, and maybe in the late 70s, 80s with some good teams. But then it's 9 years with Spurrier and 4 with Urban, and then just some other good years. I think the resources at Florida are there to compete, and whether that's what you can recruit inside the state, the money that Florida generates, the football program generates that you can put back into the program. I think Florida got behind on facilities, and part of that was Jeremy Foley probably asking Steve Spurrier, and Steve telling him, like, oh, you don't need all that stuff to win football games. But when everyone else starts getting it and you get recruits who are going to similar programs, well, they've got bells and whistles and you guys don't. I'm going to go to the bells and whistles and we'll win the same number of games. And now you're seeing Florida, as everything is changing, has caught up facility-wise, but they're spending money now facility-wise and have been when you should be spending money NIL. And I think Billy came into Florida at a weird time. I've used this analogy this summer. I think Mike Norvell came to FSU at a bad time. He came right before COVID. You can't go out and you can't recruit, and you have to figure things out. He's figured it out through the transfer portal. Billy came in he was hired December, and NIL became legal in July. He was on the job 6 months, not even 6 months, before the entire landscape of college football and the way you recruit and the way you build team changes. And now you have a kid. It doesn't matter maybe what kind of relationship you have with them. If you're offering $75,000 less than somebody else, they're not coming to you. And then NIL has changed every 6 months, and you kind of have a goal line, and then the goal line moves, and then not just linearly, the goal line moves left and the goal line moves right. So I think it's taken them time to figure things out. NIL wise, they also did not want to do a, quick house flip with the transfer portal. I agree with them to an extent that I still think even with NIL and even with the transfer portal and how many guys are going into the transfer portal, I still think you need to build your operation, build your program through high school recruiting. That's the way you build a foundation, and that's how championship teams will be built. And then you use the transfer portal to kind of fill in holes where you need to fill them in. That's what they've done. But I think that a lot of Gator fans look at FSU and the success that Mike Norvell is finding and the way they're doing it through the transfer portal, and then look at other teams and see the success they're having in the transfer portal and think, well, why aren't we doing that? And a big part of that is NIL. A big part of that is, too, the Florida Gators that this generation of recruits that they're trying to get on campus doesn't remember the Gators that we remember, buddy. They don't know Steve Spurrier in the 90s. They know Tim Tebow as the guy on TV on Saturday night.
Yeah, not even sure how to spell Tebow. I understand.
I think it's taken some time, but I think to me progress is not, again, not black and white. Progress to me would be, do you look better? Florida's 2-10 away from the swamp in the last 2 years. I need to see Florida look competent on the road. They don't have many road games.
The whole district, Nick. You have 7 games, so I mean, it's going to be a good year for that. We're going to bring Tony Barnhart in just a second, but I want to touch bases a couple of things to you first, not related to that. I don't follow recruiting, but there were a couple of stories today. Maybe you can tell me this. First of all, who's Aaron Childs? Man, everybody's talking about this guy like he's the second coming. I mean, I got to see this guy. He's about to be somebody special with speed and strength and whatever. So, have you seen him yet?
Yeah, he. It's interesting when you're a recruit and you commit and then you don't have any drama, people kind of forget about you, which is unfortunate because I like those recruits. I like the guys that commit and that don't have any problems. But he is a 6'3", 235-pound freshman linebacker. Seeing him in person does not look, and he's one of the rare freshmen now that did not enroll early. So a little bit behind a guy like Miles Graham, who was there in the spring, who plays the same position. But physically in the weight room, I was told I had an opportunity to go in and kind of embed myself with the strength and conditioning program for 2-3 days. And I'm a straight shooter. I think the world of what Tyler Miles and Jake Sankel and what they're doing with that strength and conditioning program, everything is numbers and data driven. And talking to Tyler, Aaron Childs showed up and started setting records and was leading his position group, linebackers, which include a guy like Shamar James, who's 21 years old and has been in the strength program for 4 years now, leading the linebackers in some metrics. So he is a super physically gifted specimen.
Right.
And now I think it will be hard to keep him off the field. How much he plays will be determined on how quickly he picks the defense up.
Yeah, I want to get to this if we get a point, but get a chance before when Tony gets here, if you're still around, about all the conversation about the number of linebackers they've got. They're really bragging their defense a little bit. Quickly, who's safety? Devin Jackson, committed to Florida on 0-3, 6'2", 190 safety from Winter Garden. What's he, a 4-star? Is that a big get? I lost you, Nick.
Sorry, I think I was coughing and muting myself.
Yeah.
I don't think they got anyone today that really, will jump them up. But Florida has very good, in my opinion, very good scouting. They involve the entire Army. Everyone is involved with their scouting. So I tend to,
not even Devin Jackson, this guy who's being praised as a 4-star, a linebacker. I don't know. I don't know. And Demetrius Samuels flipped from Syracuse to Florida, apparently. He's also a 4-star.
Yeah, he's a 2026 commit
right.
who is going to reclassify to 2025. We'll see what the rankings do. Normally, when you reclassify and go up a class, you kind of lose some ranking, which makes sense. You're 16 years old and being reclassified with some other guys. Devin Jackson, I'm not sure if they want him as a linebacker or as a safety, but he's from West Orange. 58 tackles, 2 pass breakups, a very physical and rangy player. I like him. I like what they're doing. And, I think it was a good day for Billy. Listen, the class needs to kind of fill out. I think it will be a smaller class this year based on how big this class was. Also based on the roster next year, starting in July, will go to 105. And I think Florida, with the amount of seniors that they have and the amount of youth that they have that will be coming in and expected to play right away, they might go a little more transfer portal heavy. So it'll be interesting to see how everyone reacts to this new 105 roster limit, across the country.
To that subject right now with this guy, Tony Barnhart. So good evening to Nick Del Torre, Mr. College Football, Tony Barnhart. Good evening to you, Tony.
Good evening, gentlemen. How's everything going?
We're going and going. Just trying to catch up with all the information. There's too much. I can't handle it all. Hey, I saw the list today. You guys see the list of the breakdown of all the new scholarships? Mm-hmm. It is absurd. I mean, I think I counted. Did I see 24 women for water polo? I think I saw that. Really. If you haven't seen it, you got to see it.
I just looked at the football and baseball. Those are the two things I was interested in.
Well, listen, you got to look at the others.
Yeah, I will.
I mean, baseball is triple, which is good. Nick covers baseball.
I've been a big proponent that 11.7 isn't enough. But all these rules are being made for football. Realignment. You're going to have a girl who's playing soccer at UCLA because she wanted to stay home and get a good education. Her parents to come see her have to go on a weekend to Rutgers to play a conference game. And the amount of money that these non-revenue sports will now be spending is going to have to be – the bill's going to be footed by football, which is making plenty of money because of realignment. But getting back to baseball, that number, I just think with the number of scholarships that are going up, we're going to lose a lot of baseball programs. There's going to be a bunch of schools that won't be able to financially fund all these sports. And baseball is, unfortunately, obviously a former college baseball player, baseball is a sport that's expensive. And outside of a handful of schools, if that, is not making a profit across the country. So I like that baseball gets more scholarships. I know the coaches like that they're able to offer full scholarships, but I think we're going to lose a lot of D1 baseball programs across the country just because financially it won't make sense.
Yeah, well, thing about baseball is the coastal Carolinas of the world have a shot. The budget numbers with 11.7 scholarships, they could compete. Now that they simply won't have the money to do it, and you're going to lose the Cinderella part of the baseball tournament.
Well, you still
Yeah,
have
and I mean NIL is
transfer
changing
portal.
that.
You still have
NIL is
NIL
changing that as
deal.
well. There's schools that spent $5-6 million in the transfer portal this offseason in baseball. So I think the transfer portal, in my opinion, for baseball has kind of killed junior college. There's not a lot of junior college kids anymore because you can go somewhere and get paid like a Coastal, and then you play well one year and you get in the portal, and now a school like Florida, Texas A&M, Texas, Georgia will pay you even more to come and be the fourth arm out of the bullpen because they need a fourth arm out of the bullpen where you could have been a starter at a school like Coastal Carolina and made a run at a smaller school.
All right, where do we stand? I don't even know how to assess all this. I'm not even going to try. I'm just taking it 1 week at a time, Tony. I'm saying embrace your season because everything has changed. All of a sudden, you could be 9-4 or 9, whatever, and you could be in the national playoffs. So you don't know where you are, relative to finishing 8th in the SEC. It might get you in, Tony.
Well, guys, what I've been telling people this summer as I go along and give my little talks and here and there is that the 12-team playoff is going to completely change the way we consume college football. It's going to be completely different because now, let's face it, the winner of the SEC championship game will go to the playoffs. The loser of the SEC championship game will more than likely go to the playoffs. The Big Ten will get a couple of teams, and then the others will be spread out among the Power Four conferences. So you don't know. Any SEC team will probably that's 10-2 or better will be able to say, "Hey, we deserve to be in." There could be some 9-3 SEC teams that say, "Look at the schedule that we played compared to the Big 12," and so it's going to be. And Greg Sankey has already started making this argument. You really need to look at the schedule these teams are playing when you start handing out those at-large bids in the NCAA tournament in the college football playoff.
That's what Florida's hoping with the schedule they got.
8-4 Florida into the playoff, buddy.
How about that? Wouldn't that be something? I don't know. I hear people guessing at how many teams will come from what conference. Some are saying 4, maybe 5 SEC, probably 3 in Big Ten, maybe more, whatever. But the fact is, like you said, we don't know until we see who they beat, who they lost.
Right. And remember, people forget this. 5 are accounted for. 5 are automatically in. 5 conference champions are automatically in. And so you're talking about 7 spots. Well, the Big Ten is going to get 2 or 3, and the SEC. I think the over and under for the SEC is 4.5. And I think they'll probably finish on the low end of that. But you look at those schedules, you look at those matchups. I can't see the SEC only getting 3. Could be wrong, but I think it's 4.5.
What do you think?
Yeah, the team. What if a team is 9-3 in the SEC doesn't get to go to Atlanta? They get a bye week, and it'd be hard to keep a 9-3 SEC team who didn't even play for their conference championship out of the tournament. And if you get into a spot where the committee doesn't want to put 3 or 4 teams in, is it better to lose one more game in the regular season and not go to Atlanta to potentially lose the last weekend and get a bye week to heal and rest up, and then get in, as a de facto second team? I think I agree with Tony where I don't think it'll only be 2 SEC teams out of 12 playing for a national championship, but it is an interesting dynamic. And, I think the detractors of a expanded playoff would say, hey, it's going to lessen the importance of each Saturday, which is what's really special about college football. I don't agree with that.
I don't buy that at all. It makes every Saturday more compelling because even if you lose, you still got a shot. Mm-hmm. Guys, here's the biggest change of all. What I've been telling people is that normally with a 14 playoff, we get to mid-November. There's 6, 7, maybe 8 teams that are legitimately in the conversation for one of the 4 teams. You got 12 teams, man. You're talking about 20, 25 teams. Anybody who's 10-2 or better is going to say we should be in the playoffs. So how do you sort that out?
And you don't have the defectors. You won't have the bowl games or whatever, a postseason, not bowl, where guys don't show up. Because you're in the playoffs, you're going to play. Right. You know, the horrible thing we had a couple of years ago, which is saves the postseason in that regard. So there's so many things we don't know about this. I think it was somebody, maybe it was Sankey, whoever it was at SEC Media Days. Or maybe it was Saban. No, I tell you it was Kirby. I think you said, it was Saban, I'm sorry, who said, we don't know the names of some of the people on these teams who will make the plays that will determine the future of these teams. There are people you never heard of who will be stars. They'll be in this system who have a starring role. So there's so much to be learned. It's a season of discovery. There's so much opportunity for good things to happen. I think we're all kind of welcoming that because it's been really grueling to deal with the transfer portal and the NIL deals. And it's so easy to disguise that. We can't report on it because we don't know. It's just a whole dark blot there. So I think the anticipation of this season is really exciting. Are you getting that, Tony?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing, guys. And I said this last year when they were worried about NIL and transfer portal. And I said, hey, guys, once the games start, nobody cares. Nobody cares where you got your NIL money. Nobody cares if you came through a transfer portal. Nobody cares once the game starts.
Yeah. Let me jump in real fast and say, and I know if you got to go, Nick, I understand. But first of all, let me say I want to mention the name of the sponsor of the show. I'm 33 minutes in, and I haven't mentioned that yet. They might like to be mentioned, and that would be Meldon Law. We know about Jeffrey Meldon. We know about what they do in the community. We know their sponsorships, things they do. And, of course, they also, they're in the lawyer business. If you need an attorney, you can call any one of their 4 offices in Ocala, Gainesville, Lake City, or Wilson, and tell them, even if you need to have a case reviewed or a second opinion on a case, call them up and they'll take care of that. I want you to know Meldon Law will not back down. All right, guys. Are you watching the Olympics at all, Nick? Are you, Tony?
Yes, I am.
I love the Olympics.
I love the Olympics.
I do too. Because how can you say, my good friend Shane Matthews, I don't care about that. How could you, a competitor, and not appreciate the fantastic competition? I mean, Katie Ledecky, are you kidding me? I mean, my gosh, what's that, 8 straight? She's going to gold again today at 1,500 meters. Give a shout out to her Florida boys. Did you hear it, Nick?
Yeah. That 1,500 is her race. I love watching. Yeah. I love watching her compete in that because you get at some point of the race, her going one way in the pool and the entire field swimming the other way. That she has lapped them. You got that again today. But yeah, I love the Olympics. I think there's nothing cooler than competing for your country. Obviously, the United States, we all have a lot of pride in them, and we are very good at the Olympics. My wife was an elite level gymnast, so she's gotten me into watching gymnastics. She can actually tell me what they're doing in the air, and I'm like, "What do you mean?" She just spun around like a twister. I have no idea how do you even know? So I've taken a real interest in watching the gymnastics, and then swimming, soccer, basketball. I watched fencing. I don't know how you score fencing. I think it's whoever gets poked the least wins. And then coming up in like 10 days or so, we get all of the running and track and field aspects of it, which is fantastic as well.
And if you haven't seen the rugby walk-off score to win the game,
unbelievable!
You've got to go see that. Well,
that's fantastic.
That was like Auburn, Alabama kick 6 levels of walk-off.
I mean, literally, the ball carrier ran over the defender, and after she ran over the defender, there was nobody in front of her.
Nobody.
And boom, buddy. I can tell the reason that you and I like the Olympics is we grew up in the newspaper business. We like stories, and the Olympics has great stories of how far people have come in their lives, what they've overcome, on and on. That's what I like about Olympics, just the stories.
I mean, Simone Biles, think what she did the other day when she injured her leg. And you wonder if she's even willing to compete. And she comes back, and what a competitor, what a fantastic finish for them. to win the gold like they did. She is a stud. I'm telling you.
No, it's good. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. It really is.
Yeah. Anything else that catches your attention in the Olympics department and that you like, Nick? Anything else you caught there?
Yeah, Gainesville native. I'm watching. I watched the entire Netflix documentary called, I think it was called Speed or Sprint. Noah Lyles, Gainesville native, was committed to Florida but turned pro before he got here. He won the 100 and 200 at the World Championships, only the third person in history to do that.
Right.
And I think he's going to be trying again in the Olympics. Someone in the comments can tell me if I'm wrong, but I think he's going to be running the 100 and 200, looking to win gold in both. The 200 is his event. That is his first love. He is the odds-on favorite for that. But, looking forward and pulling for a Gainesville native to create some history.
Yeah, for sure. I've enjoyed that. I've watched it all pretty much. Unfortunately, people got turned off by the opening skit they did on the Last Supper, which I didn't even see, which is once I saw a clip, is distasteful. Advertising was canceled, whatever. But I can't let one political statement throw me off on this fantastic festival of competition every 4 years. I think you probably guys have both covered them. It's just like Tony said, it is full of great stories. So I am really enjoying it. All right, guys, give me a quick projection here as on the SEC. I think we got the same teams lined up, but some team could upset the apple cart or could be out there who might have a bigger impact than we think. One of the teams that's been getting a lot of play, not as a competitor, but as to compete, but Florida's suddenly been discovered by people. Well, they're a good dark horse. Well, they're not in the top 8 teams, but give me a team, it's like Ole Miss or whoever, that's not Georgia, not Alabama, not Texas, that you think might make a ripple, Nick.
I think the team no one is talking about is Missouri. You get a veteran quarterback back. I think they returned a lot of guys from last year. The schedule is fantastic if you're a Missouri Tiger fan.
Lay down.
Murray State, Buffalo, Boston College, Vanderbilt, Texas A&M, first-year head coach, first-year program, UMass, Auburn, at Alabama, tough game. Oklahoma's at home, South Carolina, not very good. Mississippi State, not very good. Arkansas, not very good. I mean, that's a 10-win schedule for the Missouri Tigers. I mean, my goodness, that is as ACC of a schedule as the SEC can get.
Yeah, and like Tony said, it's all about the schedule. Tony, who you got?
Ole Miss has got to prove it to me.
Mm-hmm.
They certainly have an elite quarterback in Jackson Dart. They may have the best wide receiver room in all of the SEC in terms of going deep. Will they play better defensively? I think they're going to have to. But everybody's hyping Ole Miss. They've got talent, but last year they went to Athens and just got their doors blown off. Mm-hmm. And Lane Kiffin says, "Hey, we got to be more tough and more physical." Right. They only, again, won 11 games for the first time in school history. Only lost 2 games to Georgia and Alabama.
Yeah.
So I think you got to keep your eye on them. And you're right. Their schedule, I don't think their schedule will blow you away.
Yeah. I'm going to ask this question and let you guys go. At least let Nick go. Maybe Tony can stay for one. This question is about Florida. Tony, I don't know if you've been a follower or not, but Ben Sass, as far as president, has stepped aside. And because of illness in his family, and so the new president is the interim president who was the president before. Fox will be back. Some people are saying this is going to help Scott Strickland, who was obviously hired by him, and it will help Billy Napier. Will it have any bearing at all, Nick, on the football program?
Yeah, I don't know what the timeline is for hiring a new president. And as the interim president, who was very, very tied into academics, wanting to get Florida to being the #1 public college in the country, more so than football or sports, and being an interim basis, I don't know that you're really looking to sign off on major decisions like that. And it is a major decision. Florida, the University Athletic Association, makes enough money that they give the University of Florida a check every year and pay them. So it's a major decision. I don't know that if Florida has to make a tough decision, if that's something Kent Fox is going to do. So potentially it could happen. I think ultimately Scott Strickland's job is tied to Billy Napier and to a lesser extent Todd Golden. I've said it before. I've even said it to Scott. I don't think you get to hire 3 football coaches at the SEC level. He's already hired 2. So I don't know that, and I think that's also why you see how much more money and resources Billy Napier has gotten. I had a coach when we were doing our whole announcing all of these hires in Army. A coach in the Big Ten texted me and go, what did Billy do? I would love to get some of that on my staff to help me out. So the resources that Florida is directing towards football is more than they ever have. If you next time you have Urban on, ask him how many staff members he had during his 5-year run.
Speaking of fact, I think. Hey, real quick before I let you go, how big is it getting a shortstop back this year? He announced today he'll be coming back, and that's a big plus for the baseball program. Colby Shelton made it official; he'll be back.
Yeah, he was a draft eligible sophomore, so it makes sense. Like Ty Evans coming back, I think is more surprising because Ty was a junior, so he doesn't have the leverage next year. Getting Colby Shelton back is huge, though. I think this was the best draft that Florida has had, high school player-wise and past roster players-wise, in at least 6 years. The guys that they were able to get through the draft, I think Florida should be really, really good. Baseball America put out there way too early, top 25, and had Florida at second. That's just what you come to expect at Florida with baseball with Kevin O'Sullivan and Chuck Girolamo and their program.
Great stuff. You can read him. Tell them where you can get how to sign up for On 3 and what you do.
No better time than right now. We're 1 month away from Florida, Miami. Huge game in the Swamp. Go to GatorsOnline.com. You can see what I write. Join our message board community there. I spend more time, believe it or not, buddy, I spend more time on the message board than I do on Twitter.
I believe it.
And I'm on Twitter a lot, too. You can follow me on Twitter at Torre. It's just my last name. Always appreciate you having me on, buddy. You've always been good to me. It's hard to believe I'm going into season 12.
That's amazing. Wow. Is it 12 for you? Dude.
Season 12.
You're getting to be an old timer. You're going to catch me soon. Great stuff, Nick. Thanks. Yeah. Congratulations on the baby. All right.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good one. Have a good night, guys.
Thank you. And I want to get Tony on one more second here. While I tell folks about another sponsor, I want to hear about his book. And that is our sponsor. I told you about Meldon Law. Of course, they've been with us for a long time. We also have TitanMRI.com. They have a terrific program from Gainesville. If you're in the area and you need an MRI, they'll custom make the date for you, the time. If you can't come during the day or make it night or weekend, they'll get you in. They also are aware of how claustrophobic you can get in an MRI. They do everything they can to make you comfortable. And by the way, if you don't have insurance, they'll take cash or card. Really terrific operation. Check them out, TitanMRI.com. Tony, how's the book going? It sounds like the last time I talked to you, had a wonderful get-together with your friends and a community celebration.
We've had a lot of fun, buddy, and things are going well. Going to be doing a bunch of traveling in August. I'm going to be the king. I'm going to be the king of the Rotary Clubs. I'm doing a bunch of those because it's a lot of fun. We have a big one at my church on August 10th.
Yeah, I remember that.
Big crowd's going to turn out there. As a matter of fact, they came to me and asked if they could open it up to the public, and I went, "Go ahead, guys."
Yeah, I might sell a few more books.
So we are going to be busy in August, going to Memphis, going to Dallas, going to a bunch of places. So it's fun.
That's good. I want to bring this guy on while we ask this final question of you. The helmet communication situation is still unclear how it works. Dan Bond did a story this week about what some of the rules are. I don't know much about it. I read Dan's story. The people that we talk to, they're going to cut it off with 15 seconds to go. They say that the coordinators think it's going to be quite helpful. Tony, first of all, say hello to Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Hey,
And
Tony. Good to see you.
tell us about your thoughts on the helmet thing, Tony.
Anything you can do to make the game better, I like the helmet communications, so you can keep things going smoothly. So I'm all for it. Technology is so far advanced now, and I like adding technology to the game.
Yeah, it's one of several new rules this year is going to be the helmet communication. So they're going to cut that off at 15 seconds on the play clock. You're going to have only one player. So that's going to be the quarterback on offense and one player. And that's going to probably be a linebacker because they can communicate between the 1 deep and the 3 deep. That's less advantage, I would say, on defense because you're reacting to the offense. But the helmets themselves, I mean, that's been around since '94 in the NFL, and the college is finally catching up, kind of due to the cost and a little bit of the sign stealing, I believe, from Michigan the year before finally pushed it through. But they're going to still have the signs up. I mean, that's the only way you can really communicate to all the guys unless you have everyone on a headset, which makes it kind of logistically impossible at the college level. But it's exciting. You know, that's going to be great for the up-tempo teams like Tennessee, Ole Miss. Can you imagine Spurrier being able to just on the fly call in some of those old plays? You know, that would have been great.
He virtually did that.
Right.
Hand signals, yes. The Werfel, we used to call it, what we used to call it, the merger of the two people, a spurfle, I think, where you get Danny come up the line of scrimmage, wait till the last second, flash a hand signal, Danny would move a guy, and boom, he virtually did that with hand signals. It was devastating.
Right. That's going to be great. They're adding tablets to the sideline, so each team will have 18 tablets that they can review the video that's going on in the stadium and a couple of predetermined, like on the 50-yard line and end zone shots that they can look at.
So you can have 18 tablets, but not 19 tablets, because you wouldn't want them to have 19 tablets. That would be unfair.
Right. They you know, it's like I would have liked to seen that rule with Saban still on the sideline. He probably would have broke half a dozen of them in one game. But yeah, that's kind of interesting. You know, you've got the 2-minute warning happening this year. You've got the no timeouts to ice the kicker, no consecutive timeouts. There's a lot of stuff going on this year. You know, we had started the running clock last year, so they're getting more and more like the NFL. And the NFL today announced that they're going to preseason not have the chain gang and test an eye in the sky technology for first downs. And they're predicting 40 seconds quicker, you know, to do that. And it's all about, you know, making it quicker, making it more television friendly. You know, they're cutting those big multi-billion-dollar checks, ESPN is. So what they want to do to make the game go quicker is what we're going to see. So that's good, though.
I like the 2-minute warning. I guess I'm accustomed to covering the NFL all those years. It just seems like it's a natural place to have it.
Yeah.
You know, I never knew why they had it. They used to have it because their clocks that were in sync back in the day. But I like it in college, Tony. Do you?
I do because it's an element of strategy. Is how to use that timeout. You know, like the clock will be running and they'll stop the clock. They use a timeout and then they run a play and then call it and you get the 2-minute warning. So there's a piece of strategy about coaches like Steve Spurrier would love that. Him spending some time in the NFL. I just like the idea from a strategical standpoint.
Yeah, like with you're not worrying about icing the kicker, so now you can not hold that in your back pocket. You're not gonna have to worry about that.
We actually did that once before. It used to be illegal.
Yeah. So I mean that's good.
Yeah, I don't like that either. That's it. Well, Tony, thank you so much, my friend. Good to see you up and about, doing better. And hey, it started now. When does Georgia start? Today? They start today?
I think Georgia started today. I think they start tomorrow, August 1.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, how do you like those Texas people saying that Texas OU is better than Florida Georgia?
When we were in Destin back in May, I think that's when Chris Del Conte echoed those words. And I was on Paul Feinbaum's show. He looked at me and said, "Well, Paul, you know what I'm going to say." I bless his heart. We're happy to have Texas in the conference, but don't come to me telling me that Texas OU is up there with Georgia, Florida, or Florida, Georgia. It's just not.
Right. Yeah. I've been 35, 40 Florida, Georgia games in my life. So a lot of those growing up in Jacksonville. And I've lived here in Dallas for a long
He
time.
lives in Dallas, Fort Worth now, Tony.
And it is not the same. I've been down there for Texas OU, and I was like, eh.
Well, I've been to five Texas OU games, and it's a great event. But it just simply is not Georgia, Florida, Georgia, because it just isn't. But we're gonna have fun having the argument though. So.
Yeah, I'm excited. The new stadium, I think that's going to keep Florida, Georgia in Jacksonville for a long, long time.
Well, look, I hear this, but it's got a state fair. Big whoop.
Well,
I can go get a corn dog someplace else,
Well, it's. I will say this: it is the only game in college football where there's a sign that says "Line for turkey leg starts here." Okay, that's exactly right. Nobody else has that. We'll give them that. Okay.
Hey, you can get a good corn dog in there. Fletcher Corn Dogs, if you're ever in the Texas Fair, is the place to go.
There you go.
I've been there. I've had them. Yeah, I've had them. Been there. Listen, Tony, thank you so much. Have a great season. I'll catch up with you in a couple of weeks to make sense out of this year, and can't wait till the weekend of the 30th, 31st. We got some ball. It's a good ball starting out.
Indeed. All right, guys, take care.
Thank you, Tony. The great Tony Barnhart. Always a pleasure to have Tony on with us tonight. And Dan, you got to be on with a legend tonight.
I know. I've always followed old Mr. Football. I remember reading his articles back in the newspaper days in Jacksonville.
I've told the story. Well, now everybody who knows it's dead, but still, when I did a show out of Denver. I did a show from my house in the morning. The station had a little studio set up for me, and I'd have guests on in the morning. And so our show, and it's usually topical, what happened. And one morning we had a story broke out of college football. And I was trying to get in touch with my friend, Van McKenzie, the sports editor of the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, who would know that stuff. And so I had someone call out there for me. It's actually my wife at the time, Joni, and said, get me somebody that knows something about college football. So she came back and said, I got this one guy they said was good. Said, who is he? She says, Tony Barnhart. I said, I've never heard of him. And I said, but we'll try him. We had him on the show, and we had him on the show quite a few times. We became friends and got to know each other. But yeah, Tony's a good man, been doing it a long time, an illustrious career. And it's good to have some writer friends that can weigh in on things who've been around and know a thing or two. You know, what's that commercial? I've seen a thing or two. I know a thing or two. What is that? One of those commercials?
All right. Yeah. You're the godfather of Gator football, of course.
How about that? Listen, I appreciate you coming on tonight, and you did well. We'll see you soon, and we're ready for you to come on back to Florida when you're ready. All right.
Oh yeah, I'll be at the A&M game this year.
I mean to move back here. I'm just on visit. Move back here.
All right? Oh yeah. Who knows? You know.
We'll keep a lookout for a house for you. All right.
All right. I appreciate you.
I read his stuff here. He's one of the best people in the world on gymnastics. I'm sure you were glued to the TV last night.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. Y'all were talking about Simone Biles. I mean, as Gator fans, we watched Trinity Thomas for 4 years, who was the best to do it in college. And then you go watch Simone Biles, and it's like, wow. I mean, this woman is just doing stuff that people don't do. Then you throw in that she's 27 years old, which is ancient for gymnastics. Yeah. And then she injures her calf, and it's like, wow.
Somebody compete. And she
so great. They won the gold. I was torn a little bit because of Blakely and DiCello getting hurt and not making the team, and really watching the other women on the team. And I was like, well, I think Kayla DiCello and Sky Blakely could have done as well as those did. But I'm glad they won the gold, and it was great to see Miles one more time.
Leanne Wong get hurt?
Hmm?
Leanne Wong, did she get hurt?
No, she was a backup in case someone got hurt, so she did get to make the trip to Paris. I have some friends who go out to every Olympics, and they got to work the welcome center to the athletes, so they got a picture with Leanne, and that was fun. They're gymnastics season ticket holders too. But DiCello and Blakely tore their Achilles, and they're going to be out this upcoming season, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll be competitive in them gymnastics again next year.
Oh, they're going to be great.
Yeah,
I mean, the Oklahoma people seem like more excited than the Texas people to be in the SEC.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of that at the gymnastics meet for the national championship. They were excited about Florida, being in the same league with Florida, and same with softball. They were all looking forward to that road trip down to Gainesville. So we'll see how many OU people and Texas people show up in Gainesville for softball season.
For sure. Hey, great stuff, Dan. Thank you, buddy. You have a good one, all right?
Thanks a lot.
Appreciate you. Dan Bond from out of Texas checking in with, as he does quite often. All right, folks, we're going to wrap it up tonight with a message from my sponsor and my friends over at Renstar Medical Research. Just checking my notes to see if I got everything in tonight to make sure. Talk about that, and leave the Rays. Well, the Rays did announce the new stadium today in St. Pete, and so that's met with mixed reaction. I think it's great. I mentioned Kay Ledecky to you. Giving a shout out to the Florida boys who train with her. Oh, I didn't mention the Florida basketball team. We'll start off first tournament against USF in Jacksonville on November the 4th. So they're announced that today, opening in Jacksonville. And meanwhile, practices are going on. We'll be keeping you informed there. Go to our website, GatorBaitMedia.com. Check out Lauren Meadows. Has a couple of good stories up there. Dan Bonds has a story. So you want to follow what we do on Gator Bait. Appreciate you doing that. Meanwhile, Renstar Medical Research. They want you to know the importance of things like clinical trials. What are clinical trials? When you sign up for a clinical trial, you go in. If you meet their criteria, you have a group of people who will be tested. And usually speaking, it's a prescription for trying out. Make sure it's safe, then your doctor is okay with it. But one person will not get the pill. They'll get the placebo, or maybe two. And they want to find out how the reaction is to this particular prescription, tightly controlled. And then based on what they get that data together and they send it off to biomedical companies for more research so you'll know what's best for you. And they're particularly paying attention to this area and the indigenous things to the Central Florida area. So if you want to know more about this, go to Renstar.net, click on their clinical trials, find out who they are, what they do. I know the people there, I've known them for years. They're great people. And see if you can get involved. If you would care to. It'd be great for them, great for the community, and maybe great for you. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. I want to thank my guest tonight. Good to hear Nick back on again. It's been a while since we've had Nick Torre on. He does a good job for Gators only. Covers really good baseball, but he does other things as well. Of course, it's always great to have Tony Barnhart, my good friend from Atlanta, Mr. College Football. He was on again tonight. Always a pleasure. We'll check with him every couple of months. And I texted Urban Meyer today and said, I need to get you on and catch up what's going on. He, of course, does the Big Noon show on ESPN. And I think Urban's due this year or next to be up with the Hall of Fame. So certainly he'll make that for sure. So that's what's going on there. And then, of course, you heard Dan. Always great to hear from Dan. He does a terrific job. He's a big Gator fan, but he also knows his stuff on certain things like gymnastics, as you heard. So that's what's going on there. Thank you very much for listening and for watching. Tell your friends and neighbors we're on tomorrow night with Orange and Blue Bloods. Ben Troop is back tomorrow night. So check it out. Thanks, folks.